Hey YouTubers, back again with another update. Just kind of knocking out some things. Let's see, where do I start? Well, we can start right here. The reason the cardboard is in the boat is because I was going through and tying up a few loose ends. I got a couple of screws here from mounting a plate. I put a plate underneath here that I fitted in, and I also, I don't know if you can see it there because of the light, but I needed something to mount my console to. And there's really not a whole lot underneath this shell here. It's just a piece of wood going across a brace that goes across from corner to corner. It's been glassed in, and then there's a little bracket somewhere around here. Here, it's, can't feel it now, but anyway, it kind of runs up. Well, you can see it right there. It runs up to right here. So I cut this piece and tabbed it in so that I could mount my console to it, because I'm building my own console. The console that comes in these boats, if you get a deluxe, which this one is, kind of tapers down this way and tapers down this way, and there's no place for a stereo. And I wanted to put some switches in it, a couple of cup holders like originally were in the boat up here high, and then a switch bank, and then a stereo. And inside the console I wanted to have room for the amp and the subwoofer, and I wanted it to be somewhat structural too, so when I put it in here it kind of ties this deck, this hood, I guess, whatever, to the floor, so that if somebody gets up here and sits on it, it won't crack. It's kind of funny because in one of the early ads from Glastron, they have a picture of a girl sitting on the hood of one of the boats right there, and I gotta tell you, if you climb across the top of this boat, you're gonna have a bunch of cracked fiberglass. They're not made to be walked on. I may try it later because I've got so much more material on here than what originally came on the boat, and I put that T-brace in the front to kind of give it some structure, but probably going to stay away from it just because it's really not designed for that. 100-pound girl maybe, but not a 180-pound guy. But anyway, moving on. Let's see, I got the handrails back on. I did not replace these. I went back with the original because I'm going to have to buy some more aluminum, anodized aluminum pipe, and then bend it. And I'm not sure how to get this radius in here. I guess I could take it somewhere in town, but then it's going to be riveted in and all this whatnot. I still want to add something I can do later, so I put that off for now. I got my blower in. Originally the boat had the blower mounted here, which has made it really tight against the exhaust manifold. So, you know, I've got these new inline blowers, well, new compared to 1978. So I put that in, and I've got my other duct that's just laying there right now. There is the pump for the place diverter. I don't have that hooked up yet. I had to come back in here, and I put some more material down to clean this up a little bit back in here, and I had to put a mounting block. I wanted to have I want to put holes in this. You know, I've got to put some holes in it anyway just to bolt the motor in, but having bolt holes in my stringer, screw holes to mount my bilge pump, I really didn't want to do that because it's going to be water back here. It's like instantly starting the rotting process all over again. So I bonded this block in place and put a little glass on it, and I'm going to screw my bilge pump to this so that if this rots out, who cares? You can grind it away, glass over it, and or not, you can glass over it, whatever you want. You can gel over it or whatever, and then put your new pump in. You're good to go. As you can see, my jet pump is in. I don't think that was there in the last video I made. Here's the pressure side for my engine cooling. Let's see here. Exhaust in. Access cover for the pumps in. Air from this side's in. I didn't put a drain plug in this guy because I probably will though. I'll probably put a drain hole there at some point. I've got a drain hole over here for this one. I'm going to put the original drain plugs back in them. But these are basically big tubs. They're sealed, so I've got to have a drain plug in there to let water out of them. So, like I said, I'll probably put one on this side. also at some point. Looking at it, I'm not sure why I put it there instead of back here. I guess so I could get to it without having to reach around the exhaust. Let's see, what else is there? Steering's in. I can't remember if that was in there last time or not. It's not permanently mounted though. It's just kind of sitting here for now because I'm not finished with this part. I ran a fuel line. I went with braided fuel line up through here. I had to add that support hoop there to keep the line from hanging down. I also put another support piece right there to tie up the line because those are the factory ones, kind of dirty. But got that done. You can see I've got my teak in. I don't know if that was there in the last video or not. I don't think it was. I made these. I bought a all teak shower step off grate. I think I got it from Amazon, and it's just a grid with pieces going both ways, and I just dismantled it, trimmed them down. They're actually a 1/2 inch thick when they come from Amazon, and I cut them down and shaped them into the pieces. I had the old pieces to use as templates, and I went back with stainless Torx head screws instead of rivets. They rivet them from the factory, and they look like garbage, and they're a headache to get in and out. And I put silicone down in each one of these holes before I ran them in, so hopefully that'll seal that up, because from the factory it was a hole that went straight into the flotation boxes back here in the back. So I'm sure that's part of the problem with a lot of these boats having rot back there, is because water would get in there, and there wasn't any drain plugs on those. They had a fill plug up here for when they put the foam in it from the factory, and there's no drain plugs. So we took care of that. As you can see, I also, I'm still working on the boat, polishing the finish. It looks really good now. I finished up all the polishing around the rub rail so I could get the rub rail on. This is the original rub rail. All I did was I sanded off all of the anodizing. These came from the factory as anodized aluminum, and it looked really nice, but if any of you have ever worked with anodized aluminum, you know that once you scratch it, it's scratched. You cannot polish anodizing. Your only option is to sand it off, and that's where we're at. And this is a lot shinier. I didn't do a full polish on it. It doesn't look like chrome because I want to be able to go back, and if it gets nicks and things, I want to be able to just rub it with some, some 400 or 320 or whatever. But these kind of like little scratches in it, kind of like what you see on a stainless steel refrigerator or something like that. So it's not high polish. That was a chore. Getting that anodizing off was a friggin' chore. And but I think it actually looks better in polish. It almost looks like chrome. The rub rail, the rubber that's in the rub rail is Taco. Let me see if I can find it over here. The part number, I don't know. I'm not sure if that's the part number, or if that helps you or not, but there it is. I bought 50 feet of it. That was enough to do the boat with about 3 feet left over. It's a little heavier, a little beefier than what comes from the factory, but I like it better because this rub rail actually has some nicks in it, and this covers them up. There's nicks up in here in this area, stuff like this that 35-year-old boats are going to have, and this stuff does a really nice job of covering it up. So that's installed. I think it looks really good. There's another shot of the pump installed. I used 5200, 3M5200 to seal this guy back up again. That looks like about what they used from the factory. And I've got my fingers, there's some dirt getting on everything. But anyway, now I gotta clean that up. What else is going on? That's about it. Again, stuff there. I continue to polish and sand as I find little, ripples and things like that in the finish. I'm taking them out. At this point, I'm at 1500 wet and 2000 wet. Let's see. Oh, motor. I repainted the motor. I didn't like the color of the motor. And so I went back and shot it with grabber blue, I guess is what that is, from Ford. And it looks really good. I like it, like the color a lot better. It pops more. That dark blue metallic, it was a lot darker than I thought it was going to be, and I just didn't like it. So next steps are to get the bilge pump in, get the motor mounts in. Talk about the motor mounts for a minute. This is what I ended up going with. I don't know if this is going to work or not. We'll see. These things came with a motor mount package that would look like an erector set. This thing right here was 1, 2, 3. Then the bolts 4, 5. Then spacers 6, 7. And then there was a bolt here and a bolt here with spacers on both sides and washers. I mean, this whole little kit here was probably 12 to 15 pieces, and I'm sure it was done that way to fit a lot of different boats. I don't have a lot of different boats. I'm only going to do this boat. That's all this is ever going to go in. So I went ahead and welded this thing up. I tacked in the spacers. I put in this thing to make this stronger, this pipe here, because this was just an assembly of screws bolts and nuts. So we will get these on the motor and then drop the motor in, get it hooked up to the pump, and then I will drill pilot holes in the stringers to bolt this bad boy down to, and hopefully that will hold the motor in place. We're looking at substantially more horsepower than what came with the boat originally, so like I said, this is one of those gray areas where you just kind of do it and see if it works, and if it doesn't, then we'll go to plan B and come up with something else. But anyway, that's where we're at for now, and like I said, I will update you when I make some more changes, get some more things done. I would imagine after the motor goes in, it'll be wiring and steering cable and plumbing for the diverter, and just getting all that wiring tied up, get the interior in. I still got to wire the gauges. That's going to take some planning, because I'm going to have to integrate the gauge wiring in with the switch panel that's going to be on the console. So that's all going to be taken into consideration. But still planning on having it on the water this summer. Anyway, that's it for now. Peace out.